Shadow Protocol. The Hegemony War Council erupted in laughter as Admiral Zexthar displayed Earth's military capabilities on the central hologram. Primitive combustion engines, he clicked through his breathing apparatus. Chemical projectile weapons, no planetary defense grid. And they're still fighting over arbitrary boundaries on their own world. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vexora, flicked her third eye toward the strategic display. Their transmissions indicate they've sent distress signals to 17 systems. None have responded. Of course not. Zexthar's mandibles clicked in amusement. Who would risk ships and resources for a species that can barely maintain a single orbital station? The Galactic Concordat considers them a curiosity, not an ally. The bridge of the Hegemony dreadnought Inevitable Dominance hummed with the sound of superiority. Their invasion fleet, 12 capital ships and 36 support vessels, had already positioned themselves in Earth's orbit, cloaking systems engaged. The humans' primitive sensors hadn't detected a thing. Begin the invasion protocol, Zexthar commanded. Standard subjugation pattern. Target their military installations first, then communication centers. I want this planet under control within 1 lunar cycle. Unknown to the Hegemony, 400,000 kilometers from Earth, a vessel like a sliver of darkness adjusted its position. The ONI Phantom bore no external lights, no identifying markers, and emitted no radiation signature that any conventional scanner could detect. Its hull absorbed rather than reflected light, not painted black, but engineered to be the absence of visibility. In the ship's deployment bay, Captain Ilara Voss stood before her team. 30 men and women in matte black combat suits, their faces expressionless behind polarized visors. They weren't regular military. They were Shadow Protocol operators, the kind of soldiers whose existence was officially denied by Earth governments. The Hegemony believes we're helpless, Voss's voice carried through the bay. They think we'll beg for mercy or wait for rescue from our advanced allies. A cold smile crossed her face. We're going to educate them. Her second-in-command, Major Karen Shaw, displayed the tactical overlay on each operator's heads-up display. They've positioned command nodes here, here, and here. He indicated 3 points across the North American continent. Strike teams will deploy in stealth pods. No heat signatures, no radar profile. We go in dark, we hit hard, we leave nothing. No one cheered. No one needed to. These weren't conscripts looking for glory. They were professionals who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Earth had known first contact was coming for decades, and they had prepared accordingly. Remember, Voss said as her team moved toward the deployment pods, the Hegemony has never faced humans in combat. Their tactical databases contain no information about our capabilities. That's our advantage. As the invasion began, cities across Earth received the first salvos of Hegemony weaponry. Plasma bombardments struck military bases, government buildings, and infrastructure nodes. The aliens expected panic, surrender, or disorganized resistance. What they got was silence. The first indication that something was wrong came when the Hegemony's forward command post near what had been Seattle stopped transmitting. Commander Ixven had been mid-sentence in his situation report when the feed cut off. Zexthar ordered an immediate scout team deployment. None returned. Impossible. Sub-Commander Vexora hissed as reports of communication blackouts spread across their network. Their weapons can't penetrate our shield technology. They didn't use energy weapons, came the reply from a surviving outpost. The communication officer's voice trembled. They used projectiles, physical rounds that passed through our energy barriers as if they weren't there. And they just appeared. No ships, no drop signatures. They were simply there. Zexthar's mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. Primitive species don't have stealth technology that advanced. Scan for cloaked vessels. But the Hegemony sensors found nothing, because they were looking for the wrong signatures. Earth's shadow teams didn't use conventional insertion vehicles. Their drop pods were coated in metamaterials that absorbed scanning waves rather than reflecting them. and they used Earth's magnetic field for guidance rather than active navigation systems. For 3 days, the pattern repeated. Hegemony installations would go dark without warning. Distress calls would cut mid-transmission. Scout teams would find nothing but empty outposts, disabled equipment, and occasionally, precisely placed explosives that detonated when investigation teams arrived. In the mountains outside what had been Denver, a hegemony science team detected unusual seismic activity moments before the ground beneath their research station collapsed. As they scrambled for safety, dark figures emerged from the tree line. No warning shots, no demands for surrender, just the whisper of silenced weapons and the thud of bodies falling. Captain Voss moved through the hegemony outpost with methodical precision, her team securing intelligence, technology, and prisoners with cold efficiency. She paused at a communication terminal, activating her neural interface to download the hegemony tactical database. Their main command vessel is still in high orbit, she informed her team. They're holding position and calling for reinforcements. Will they come? Asked Specialist Rivera, the team's communications expert. Irrelevant, Voss replied. By the time they arrive, there won't be anyone left to reinforce. On the 6th day, Admiral Zexthar received a transmission on all hegemony frequencies. The message was simple, delivered in perfect hegemonic dialect. You believed Earth was defenseless because we don't showcase our weapons. You thought we were primitive because we don't flaunt our technology. You expected us to wait for rescue because you don't understand human nature. Your mistake. Your last mistake. The transmission came from inside Zexthar's personal quarters aboard the inevitable Dominance. Panic spread through the hegemony fleet as they realized the truth. Their ships had been infiltrated. Their supposedly impenetrable defenses had been breached. Their secure communications had been compromised. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, human operators were moving silently toward their targets. In the deployment bay of the Onai Phantom, the second wave of shadow teams prepared for orbital insertion. Unlike the first wave, these operators carried heavier weaponry, not for subtlety, but for devastation. The hegemony now knows we exist, Major Shaw addressed the assembled teams. They don't yet understand what we're capable of. Show them. Captain Voss stepped forward. Humanity doesn't need allies to fight our battles. We don't need rescuers to save us from invasion. What we need. She loaded a magazine into her sidearm with a decisive click. Is for the galaxy to understand that Earth is not, and has never been, defenseless. As her words echoed through the bay, the first explosions bloomed silently across the hegemony fleet. From the blackness of space, human attack craft, invisible to conventional sensors, moved into firing position. Earth's defense grid, hidden beneath oceans and mountain ranges, powered up targeting systems that had lain dormant for decades, waiting for this moment. The hegemony had come expecting an easy conquest. They hadn't realized they were walking into a trap generations in the making. The battle for Earth had begun, and the invaders were about to learn why humans had always been feared, not for their technology, but for their capacity to turn anything, even their apparent weakness, into a weapon. No quarter. Admiral Zexthar stared at the tactical display in disbelief as another hegemony vessel disappeared from the grid. The relentless pursuit, a destroyer-class ship with shields that could withstand direct asteroid impacts, had simply vanished. How? He demanded, his voice a harsh rattle through his breathing apparatus. How are they doing this? Sub-Commander Vexora's skin had paled to a sickly green. The humans, they aren't using conventional weapons or tactics. Our sensors detect no energy signatures before the attacks. No radiation buildup, no thermal anomalies. Because they're using kinetic weapons, came a voice from the shadows of the bridge. Both officers whirled to find a human female standing there, wearing the insignia of Earth's military intelligence. How she had appeared on the sealed bridge of their flagship was impossible to comprehend. Commander Reeves, she introduced herself calmly. Diplomatic liaison. Guards surged forward, weapons drawn, But Zexthar raised a hand to halt them. You infiltrated my vessel to negotiate. Bold, but futile. Not to negotiate, Reeves corrected. To explain. You see, humanity has been anticipating first contact for centuries. Some of us hoped for peaceful exchange. Others, those with more foresight, prepared for this exact scenario. She gestured to the tactical display where more hegemony ships were going dark. What you're witnessing isn't our primary defense force. It's just our shadow protocol, a specialized unit designed specifically for asymmetric warfare against technologically superior species. Zexthar's mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. Impossible. Your species barely achieved interplanetary travel. Reeves smiled thinly. That's what we wanted the galaxy to believe. We monitored your communication networks. We studied your shield technologies, your weapons systems, your tactical doctrines. For 50 years, we've been preparing while appearing primitive. Meanwhile, hundreds of kilometers below, Captain Ilara Voss and her team moved through the hegemony's primary ground installation, a sprawling complex they had established in what had once been the Sahara Desert. Unlike previous operations, this wasn't a stealth mission. This was a statement. All teams, execute Thunderclap Protocol, Voss commanded through her neural link. Across the complex, precisely planted charges detonated simultaneously, not to destroy the facility. That would be wasteful, but to disable its defenses and communication systems. As alarms blared uselessly, shadow teams moved through the chaos with practiced precision. Sir, ground installation, Nexus is under attack. A communications officer reported to Admiral Zexthar, his voice cracking with panic. They've breached the central command node. On the main view screen, footage appeared from the installation's security systems. Dark figures moved through the corridors with inhuman speed and coordination. Where hegemony soldiers attempted resistance, they were met with overwhelming and precise force. There was no wasted motion, no hesitation, just the methodical execution of a plan long established. You see, Reeves continued conversationally, as if they were discussing the weather rather than watching the systematic dismantling of the hegemony's invasion force. Humans have always been good at one thing above all else: adapting to overcome apparent disadvantages. In the depths of Nexus Station, Voss accessed the central database. Her neural interface processed the hegemony encryption in seconds, the result of years of covert intelligence gathering by Earth's shadow network. Package secured, she reported as the download completed. All teams, prepare for extraction. But before her team could withdraw, the station's emergency bulkheads slammed shut. A voice echoed through the installation, the regional commander of hegemony ground forces. Impressive, humans, but futile. I've initiated the station's self-destruct sequence. You will perish along with your stolen intelligence. Voss checked her tactical display and smiled behind her visor. Negative, Commander. We rewrote your self-destruct protocols 20 minutes ago. What you've actually activated is a system-wide shutdown of all hegemony life support systems, except in this room. Silence, then panic shouting as the hegemony commander realized she was telling the truth. On the bridge of the inevitable dominance, Admiral Zexthar received the report with growing horror. Nexus Station, their primary ground control center, had been completely compromised. Its weapons systems now pointed upward, targeting his fleet. It's not just Nexus, Reeves informed him. All your ground installations have been repurposed. Your own weapons will fire on your ships in approximately 3 minutes. This is barbaric. Vex aura hissed. No civilized species would turn an enemy's weapons against them. Reeves raised an eyebrow. You invaded our home, bombarded our cities, and expected us to follow some code of interstellar warfare we never agreed to. Humans don't fight fair, Admiral. We fight to win. The tactical display flickered as more ships reported critical systems failures. Some simply lost power. Others began firing on their companions, their targeting systems hijacked by Earth's cyber warfare division. "You have two options," Reeves stated flatly. "Immediate and unconditional withdrawal, or complete annihilation. We've already transmitted the specifications of your shield technology, weapons systems, and tactical vulnerabilities to every human military installation. There is nowhere in this system you can hide, no defense you can mount that we haven't already prepared to counter." Admiral Zexthar stared at the human with newfound understanding and dread. The hegemony had dismissed Earth as a primitive world, barely worth the resources to conquer. They had expected token resistance at best, immediate surrender at worst. Instead, they had awakened something the galaxy hadn't seen before, a species that had evolved not through peaceful advancement, but through constant conflict, a species that had developed warfare to an art form, a species that saw an overwhelming technological advantage and responded not with fear, but with adaptation. "How?" he finally asked. "How did you prepare so thoroughly without being detected?" Reeves' expression remained impassive. "Because you, like all the others watching us from afar, saw what we wanted you to see. Our public space program is deliberately inefficient. Our military satellites are disguised as debris. Our advanced weapons research is conducted in facilities so deep underground that no scan can detect them." On the main view screen, Captain Voss appeared, standing amid the captured command center of Nexus Station. Behind her, hegemony officers sat with hands bound, watched by silent human operators. "Admiral," she addressed Zexthar directly, "your ground forces have been neutralized. Your fleet is compromised. You have precisely 5 minutes to begin withdrawal before we escalate to Phase 3. "What is Phase 3? Vexora demanded. Voss's smile was cold. "The demonstration of our actual military capabilities, rather than just our Shadow Protocol operators. I don't recommend experiencing it firsthand." The hegemony fleet began its withdrawal within 3 minutes. As the ships limped toward the jump point, their damaged systems struggling to maintain basic functions, Admiral Zexthar turned to the human liaison. "The galaxy will hear of this," he warned. "They will know what humanity is capable of." "That," Reeves replied as she stepped back into the shadows, "was precisely the point." In the aftermath, as Earth's shadow teams returned to their hidden bases and the true extent of the human defensive network powered down to standby mode, Captain Ilara Voss stood in the observation deck of the O9 Phantom, watching the last hegemony ships disappear into hyperspace. "Do you think they'll return?" Major Shaw asked, joining her at the viewport. Voss shook her head. "Not alone. They'll tell others. They'll try to form coalitions. But it doesn't matter." "Why?" "Because now they know." Her reflection in the glass overlaid the stars beyond. "They know that Earth doesn't need rescuers. We don't need allies to fight our battles. We've always been alone, and that's made us stronger than they can imagine." Across the galaxy, the message spread rapidly. The hegemony, a power that had conquered 17 systems without significant resistance, had been repelled by a supposedly primitive world without external assistance. The carefully crafted image of Earth as a technological backwater dissolved overnight. In its place emerged a new understanding. Humanity might appear isolated in the cosmos, but that isolation had forged them into something uniquely dangerous, a species that had mastered the art of appearing weak while preparing for war on a scale their enemies couldn't comprehend until it was too late. The Battle of Earth, as it came to be known, lasted just 9 days. But its impact on galactic politics would echo for centuries to come. Earth hadn't just defended itself, it had announced its presence to the stars not with a plea for recognition, but with a simple, unmistakable message. "We have always been here, watching and waiting, and we are not to be trifled with."